Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back with our good friend, Randy Swaim, and we are talking about all the work that he does. And he's a coach, he's a leader, he's a pilot, father, grandfather, like I can't even keep up with you. You have a lot of titles. You have a passion for helping people, hence coachingforrelevance.com. We're excited you're here helping bringing freedom to potential for so many people. Hard to introduce a man, author, movie star, who has so many titles. So, Randy, just tell us a little bit about your company, what you do, and I know we have something to chat about today, as always.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, as you said, Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach and coaching for relevance. And what I do is I bring a lot of those coaching skills. And of course, I'm a certified master neuroplastician with the Institute for Organizational Neuroscience in Germany. And so that's functioning how the brain works and how you really got to be aware of things that are not being what you need them to be, and stuff like that and everything. And I bring the coaching and I bring that aspect of leadership that has been developed in me. As you know, with my military career, I got to serve, and I've said this, and I've said it in my book, I've said it in the movie that Hollywood, created for me and everything. But I've served with some of the most incredible leaders, and one of the biggest parts about, who I became over the 30 or 40 years stuff is, what I learned from them, not because of anything they ever told me, but because of how I watched them and saw them. And so what I do is I bring coaching and I bring skills with that. I bring the neuroscience awareness. I bring the leadership and all of that to what I do with pilots and developing flight crews, but also with leaders and people that are, trying to look to really, make their organizations and their teams successful. And so that's my passion, is just bringing freedom to potential. And that's what I'm all about. It's what I care about.
We are excited that you're back here joining us today, and always an amazing conversation. I know we sometimes talk about current times, things that are going on. Last time we spoke, we were talking about some of the latest airline, devastations and the accidents. Mm-hmm. But, making that quick judgment and, those pilots who are doing the right thing, they're leaders. They've been taught well to adjust to last-minute changes like that. And I know you're big into leadership. And what did you have in mind for us today? What are we going to talk about?
Well, I tell you, I'll give you one sort of simple thing to begin with. One of the things that when you're talking about leading your teams in today's environment, it's something that you sort of have to be aware of. And there's a lot of people out there that don't understand this because their whole focus is on themselves and everything. And I'll mention a couple of examples of that. But I will say this, that I had my own show, and of course, and Podcast Business News Network knows that the organizational maneuverability shows that we recorded are sent to TBNN and stuff, and they post it on their little platform for my stuff and everything. So, so that'll be probably sent tomorrow, or I'm guessing, or whatever. But this guy, he and I are very aligned. We both come from military backgrounds. We both come from journeys that really showed us some things and taught us some things and everything. And he and I are very, very aligned. But he brought out a simple thing that was very aligned with what I'm bringing here today. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's kind of in the same ballpark of it and everything. And one of the things, I'll just share with you one of the things that he said. And when he said this, I commended him and I said, "You know what, buddy, you're right. You're totally right." And we found out that he and I are very aligned in a lot of ways. But he talked about when you're leading your teams, you know what, and this is what he brought out. He said, when you're leading your teams, it's not just about you going up to the management and finding out what you're supposed to do and then go threaten people or dictate to people. What it is if you're not going all the way down the list of the people that you're related to, that you're working with and for, and that that are on your team. If you're not having that connection level up and down all the way, you're not doing the job as a leader, and you're going to run into issues with that. And this is very aligned. And I mentioned very quickly my compliments to him on that, because I said that's very aligned with something I'm going to be talking about later on today, kind of thing. But it's the thing I want to just kind of mention this is when you're talking about leading your teams, there's something that you need to be aware of. And I'll just share this with you with 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 the company that I spend most of my time with in a lot of ways right now. Um, what I'm amazed at is the way I connect with everybody. And I mean people that are in other areas of the company, people that are just not exactly in our office, not exactly doing what we're doing. The way I connect with them, I find out that people respond in ways that are kind of amazing, in ways that they sort of connect with you. And I'll kind of throw this out as the simple sort of part of it. But you know what? When you're connecting with somebody and you're helping them experience that you believe in them, that you appreciate them, but also, yeah, you're the leader, but you know what? You're connecting with them in a way that makes them feel synergistically connected to you. That's what you got to do. And where that comes into play in today's world, as a leader, you got to be aware of this, and you got to be aware in your mind as to how this is being beneficial, or how are you letting the dysfunctional aspect come into view and play in, because the dysfunctional can shut people's brains off and shut their goal and vision off and everything. And so you got to be aware of that. But what I'll say is that there's a lot of times where when you're working with somebody who's not at your level, they're at a lower level or something, and you
Yeah.
connect with them, there's a certain degree of connection that they feel, but also they feel, you may mention some things that are sort of humorous, or whatever, and they laugh and chuckle and enjoy the connection, and enjoy whatever that was. That can be a good thing. But what a lot of the narcissistic and sort of self-interested and control freak, if you will, managers out there that happen, what they do is they try to do that. But when you experience and observe how they did it, you can tell that what they're doing is trying to pull you into their fun, so that they can control and dictate it. And I've seen people do this. Like, I'll sit there and talk to somebody, and I just mention one thing, and we both sort of chuckle a little bit, no big deal. But there's a couple of other people that I know, I've actually watched this happen, where they sit there and they get the people to laugh, but you can tell in the way
Yeah.
they're doing it, in the body language, in the verbs that they're using, in the words that they're using, you can tell that what they're trying to do is make you completely focus on them.
Yeah.
And that is the dysfunction when you're doing this sort of thing. And when you're talking about your team being very successful and your team doing this, you got to understand that the complete focus is not just on you. It's not about you playing those games to make them just got to capitulate to you and become dependent on you, and somehow make it feel like you're the only source of anything for them. No, that's not what you want to be doing. You gotta connect with them in a way that helps them believe in you, not because they feel threatened and they feel capitulated to you,
Mm-hmm.
but that they believe in you. They believe in their connection with you. They believe in your connection together. And one of the things that I've have sort of mentioned this too before, that I'll mention, because this is sort of aligned with it, but it's this thing. And on the show this morning, I kind of mentioned this to him for sure, because it was very aligned with what he was saying. But it has the aspect of true synergy and oneness in your team. Got to realize that aspect of synergy and oneness for your team is not just totally dependent on you telling them what to do. And it's also not, and this is kind of wild when you're talking about rapidly changing environments where not everything is rote academic, and you got factors that may be coming on the scene that you didn't expect, and all of
Yeah.
that. You got to realize that in that situation, when you look at the real synergy, if you have, let's say, 10 people on your team, guess what? Each one of them has different backgrounds,
Yeah.
and each one of them may be aware of a factor that nobody else was. Also, some of them, depending on who knows, depending on their education, depending on their experience, depending on a lot, they may be aware of threats that nobody else was aware of. But they also may be aware of real strategic choices for radical success
Yeah.
that nobody else saw. And you know what? When you're talking about being a leader with your team, getting people together in oneness as a team isn't just because you're making it so that they just capitulate to you and depend on you. No, that's not it. The idea is that you connect with the team in such a way that they
Mm-hmm.
truly feel oneness together, even with you. And the aspect about that is realize that just because when you talk about synergy or you're talking about growing your team, it's not just about telling everybody to do it exactly the same way every time. That isn't oneness, because guess what? Some of them may have insights that nobody else did. And but the bottom line is, have you coached your team? Have you developed your team? Have you created the belief in your team so that they could actually work together and see and communicate and be one as they're moving forward, and they together choose the factor that really gets them there. Because here's the thing, sometimes you may be on vacation and they got to be able to do it, kind of thing. Who knows, kind of thing. And so it's just something to think about, that when you're, and like I say, the big thing that I saw in this that I was going to kind of bring out is just this aspect of when you're connecting with your people. How are you really connecting with people so that they want to connect with you? When they pass you in the hall, it's like, hey, Randy, hey, kind of thing, or something, as opposed to just hello, or whatever kind of thing. But also, it's not something where you're just capitulating them to just surrender to you, period. And you know what? To a certain extent, that also is at play when you're talking about the clients and the customers that you're working with, because it's not just about putting them in a situation where they feel they're just going to collapse and go away if you don't get to do what you want to do. No, it's about their belief and the experience of the relationship that makes them want to be a part of it. And so when you're talking about this team aspect and the synergy and all of that can be part of it. And it's something that leaders have to understand. It's not just about dictating. It's not just about playing control freak games. It's not playing games. If you get them to chuckle, but it's in a way that they appreciate your connection, that can be beautiful. That can be perfect. But if you're getting them a chuckle in sense where in their experience, they're experiencing it in a way where you're trying to make them totally dependent on you, kind of thing. That's dysfunctional. And yet that's what a lot of people don't understand when you look at that key difference. And when you're talking about your team and leading your team particularly in challenging situations or whatever, you got to realize that how you choose to do that is everything. And it's not just about playing control freak games. It's not just about doing something that makes them just capitulate to you and come over and do what you said. But it's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot bigger than that. And you know what? If you create the environment in your team where they experience the real oneness and the real truth and the real belief and the real teamwork and the real synergy working together with the team, guess what? Magical things can happen, and amazing results can often occur that makes the rest of your company go, wow, I would have never expected that. That's awesome. But you know what? when you're talking about leading your team, guess what? That's a key understanding that you've got to have in how you're doing that, and a key understanding of, you know, in what ways is what you're trying to do perhaps disconnecting that part of it. And so it's just something to think about that. And like I said, where I took it is, how are you really connecting with other people that are not on your team, but other people in the organization or whatever, in such a way that they appreciate and they find ways that they want to just connect with you and sometimes communicate, and yet not doing it in a way where they're afraid that that you're going to badmouth them or something if they don't, kind of thing. That's the key other side of the diagram there. But it's just something to think about when you're talking about leading your team. It's something that people have to be aware of, and a number of people in today's world are not truly aware of that. And I'm not bad mouthing everybody out there. No, kind of thing. Everybody's a little different, kind of thing. But it is this aspect of when you're leading a team in a situation like that, it's just an awareness that the leader has to be able to have, so that you're not just trying to please your bosses, but you're connecting with everybody, even people below you and people aligned with you, in such a way that they want to be a part of you and a part of this, not just because of your arrogance, but because of the teamwork and the oneness and the sense that they feel and experience in working with you. And that is huge. And it's just something to think about when you're when you're talking about leading your team particularly in a challenging situation. But it's a key separation between those two that leaders need to be aware of. And at what point, when you look at what you're doing with your team right now, to what extent might you need to tweak that or adapt that a little bit to make it more effective on the other side? So just something to think about, and just one kind of concept on that. I thought I'd bring. It's just a key thing when you're leading teams, and not just playing academic things with dictating and pointing fingers and telling people what to do. No, it's a lot deeper than that, and it's the connection part of it is way bigger.
Speaking of leadership, right? I always wanted to ask. I know because last time we spoke a little bit about current events. I just want to ask your thoughts on,
Sure.
Yesterday when finally the astronauts came home, right? Talk about a group of leaders, right, who were going on a mission for a few days, ended up getting stuck for how many months, and I mean, to see all that is just. I don't know. It's like aviation. It's similar, right? It's just like it's.
Well, it is aviation. Yeah. It just goes a lot higher.
True. But it's like fascinating to me that everything could happen so precisely. It could land where it's supposed to in the water, and everyone's. Yep. It's just like, wow. I mean, what a team of leaders too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I watched a lot of the news on that, and when the ship picked up the thing they were in and stuff, and was opening the door, and it was pulling the astronauts out and stuff, and I loved it when the lady, before they, moved her to a seat or whatever, she's sitting there going to the camera, kind of thing, and I'm just sitting there going, you go, because you know what, it is true, and if you think about that situation, that's a little bit a part of this. The aspect of it is, you can't put things aside just because two people are stuck up in the space station and stuff. You can't put things aside on that. You got to look at how you're going to do it. And 9 months is a little bit long to wait on that. But the bottom line is that's a little kind of a little bit of a part of it. But if you look at a lot of the feedbacks and the reaction that a lot of those four astronauts had, but also a lot of the people that were helping them get out of the craft and all that kind of stuff. That's huge. And you know what? That that you don't let people feel like they're in a oneness group if all you're doing is bragging on yourself with what you did. But the fact is, making it happen in such a way that they did was huge. I agree with you 150%, because you know what? Guess what? When you feel that your team, your true team, is actually protecting you and taking care of your life and bringing you home,
Yeah.
guess what? Huge things can happen in here, and but that's, like I say, that's just a big thing about leadership that a lot of times people kind of don't even think about, because they have a tendency to just think about, well, you know, can't do that now, or if they're stuck up in a space station and you say, well, we can't go get them now, so some other time. You know what? That's not what you want to do. And the so, like I said, I fully commend and appreciate all the space forces there that were part of this, that went up and got them. And like I said, I just really appreciated those astronauts when they were pulled out of the thing, and the look on their face and things like that. And that, they just have my compliments on that. But you know what? That's another sort of example of sort of what we're talking about. Because if your whole example is just about me and da, 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 you're not getting it done. But you know what? When your people on your team truly feel like you're with them, and you know what? When that spacecraft went up there and joined with them for the first time within the last, 24, 48 hours kind of thing, when it joined there,
Yeah.
and those new astronauts came in, wow, the reaction in the people was amazing. And then when they came back and they were getting out of the craft on the ship, that can be huge. But that's one little example of what you're talking about, because you know what? A lot of times, as a leader, your choice in do this or don't do this or whatever puts a multiple mile difference between those two. And you know what? It creates a reaction in your team that you probably don't want to have. And it's just very key there, because a lot of people, it can be simple things. I can be sharing a joke which makes you laugh and have fun, but you know what? I
Yeah.
do it in such a way where I'm sitting here like this, and I'm just sitting there going, da, 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 kind of thing, and making you sort of depend on me, as opposed to just mentioning it, and we
Yeah.
both sort of enjoy the story. So that I appreciate you bringing that up, because I have the same compliments of them that you have, and the appreciation of the story. And but that is sort of one little example when you look at the last 9 to 10 months and stuff. That's part of that story as well, and that's very aligned with kind of what I'm bringing to this. So keep in mind that for those that are listening, guess what? If you're the leader, you need to think about in what ways you're making that
Yeah.
truly positive, or in what ways are you truly making it negative and shutting down your people and not doing it. Because if all you're doing is, you may be making some jokes, but you know what? If the jokes, if in their experience, the jokes are just, trying to make you depend on me and just,
Yeah.
submit to me, guess what? You're not truly getting the job done. If you create within them the kind of oneness and the connection there that makes them want to follow you and want to be a part of this, guess what? Amazing things can happen. And I know that in our times together in the past, there's been one or two examples of that I brought out and stuff. But yeah, that's just something to think about when you're doing that, because it's just like it's something that leaders need to be aware of and stay off of the one side. Make sure you're on one side, the positive side. And so, just something to think about.
Sure is. Well, thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you here, and looking forward to our next connection. How can we reach out to you, Randy Darlin? Tell us.
Okay, just very quickly, if you go to my website, coachingforrelevance.com,
Mm-hmm.
on the homepage there at the bottom, it
Yep.
has my email and cell phone so somebody can call me or whatever. I don't do a lot of sales pitches. Now, if somebody has a need, yeah, we'll come up with something. But I just, if somebody just wants to have a combination, or if they want to connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, we can do that and just have a few chats if they want. So, yeah, so that's well worth it. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Looking forward to next time. Have a fantastic day and enjoy the beautiful weather. Spring is
Sounds
here.
good. And you do the same, and it's always a pleasure there, Jill. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You too. Bye-bye, Randy.
Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.